Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techgig webinar series. Topic for today's session is IT careers in banking and capital markets. And we have with us today Mr. Manoj Kumar. He is the ex-MD India Operations of MISIS. An alumnus of Harvard Business School, Manoj has over 2.5 decades of experience in the areas of strategy, corporate development, M&A, product management, and R&D operations at global leadership positions with application software and financial services firms. In his last role at MISIS, a leading software solutions provider to the financial services industry, he was a member of the senior leadership team that led the historic turnaround of the company. In addition to managing global operations, Manoj was also the chief executive of MISIS India and a director on the boards of MISIS Software Solutions and Tura's Trade and Risk Management. At MISIS India, Manoj was also responsible for managing Allscripts, the healthcare business of MISIS, before its divestiture into a separate company. Prior to his decade-long stint with MISIS, Manoj was with ICICI Bank, dealing in foreign exchange and derivatives. Manoj had joined ICICI Bank at its startup stage, working across multiple business areas through the 1990s as it evolved into the largest private sector bank in India. Today's webinar is going to cover a couple of things, just a brief. It will cover things around why domain knowledge in banking capital markets is important for working in IT industry, roles and hiring trends in BFSI domain, for example, business analysts for KPO, skill sets required for the role profile offered, and of course there will be other things which Manoj will be talking about during the entire length of today's session. He will be taking in questions during the last 15 or 20 minutes of today's presentation. At any given point, if there is any audio connectivity problem, please feel free to inform us so that we can do the needful. So without any further delay, I now hand over the session to Manoj. Manoj, I am making you the presenter now so that you can start sharing your screen.
Hello everyone, I'm Manoj here, and it's my privilege and pleasure to be talking to all of you today over this webinar. The topic which has been given to me is about, career for IT professionals in banking and capital markets space. It's a broad domain, so I'll try to cover as much as possible within the time period, and I'll be happy to take up any questions today or any day after today. So let me start with some interesting data. Yeah. If you look at India, just India, the banking, securities, capital market firms, that includes banks, buy-side and sell-side firms, IT spend for them is growing by about 9.8%. Okay, this is just for India, and if you look at the IT services segment, yeah, the overall spending in banking domain is estimated to be around 14,900 crore rupees next year. So this is pretty large, right? Compared to other industries, and that too in IT. But let's look at global trends, two global trends, very big trends. Over the last 20-25 years, India had been a preferred IT outsourcing destination, and it slowly emerged as the knowledge processing outsourcing destination for global financial services organizations and other companies. This trend continues to be good because of India's ability to scale with a very good number of engineering colleges and a very high quality of IT professionals which are coming out of our institutions. But more than that, the global banks, not only the outsourcing part, but also the global banks and software product companies, they set up their R&D centers, their captive R&D centers in India, which is slightly different than outsourcing. What happens in outsourcing, companies outsource their IT work to services companies like Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, Accenture, IBM, etc. In a captive model, banks and software product companies, instead of outsourcing, they set up their own offices in India and hire people and do research and development. And this is a very big trend. And why it matters, while the first 2 points I mentioned about the estimate of IT expenditure in India, the last 2 points are very important because the global IT spend, which banks and software companies around the world are spending on IT, if a major portion of that eventually ends up in India because of their outsourcing as well as captive offshoring decisions. Let's analyze that a little further. So let's take the world as a whole. It's very difficult to estimate how much banks will spend on IT around the world, but this is some estimate that is coming from very respected, very reputed consulting firms. They do research, they talk to banks, they do a lot of hard work to get to these estimates, right? So Celent is one among those, and as per Celent, the estimate seems to be around close to 300 billion US dollars, not million, it's billion, right? Forrester, which is another very, very respected firm, they do research with their own methodology, they estimate it to be about $179 billion. And Gartner, another very reputed firm, estimates it to be about 460. So, I'm not getting into whose estimates are right or wrong, but one conclusion you can make out of the research that is coming from Celent and Forrester and Gartner is the number seems to be pretty high, right? It's a large amount of money that the banks spend on IT. And in my previous slide, what I said that India continues to be preferred outsourcing and offshoring destination, that means a major portion of this spend is actually going to come into India. And that is why when you see growth of TCS, of Cognizant, of IBM, of Accenture, of Infosys, that is where the growth is coming from. The banking and financial services sector brings in a lot of revenue opportunities for the IT outsourcing companies. Let me share another statistics with you. A lot of people say that why only financial services firm? Why only banks? What about others? Now, if you look at the money that banks or the financial services sector as the whole spends on IT, it is mind-boggling. It's very high compared to healthcare, insurance, government, media. So if you look at other domains, they also spend a lot of money on IT, but the proportion of money they spend on IT in financial services world is really high. As a percentage of revenue, you can see on this slide, it's significantly higher than other industries. Now, see, what I'm trying to convey in the last 5 minutes of conversation is that India itself is a big market for IT when it comes to banks and financial services. Then globally there is a trend to bring in more work into India, and that estimate is very high. And then the third point I made, the financial services firms globally spend much more on IT compared to others, right? So if you add all these points, you come to the conclusion that banking or the financial services industry or the domain has maximum revenue potential for the service providers, maximum expenditure for actual users, and therefore the career opportunities for people who are either IT professionals or business management professionals, the career opportunities are significantly higher. Right? So measured as a percentage of revenue, financial services firms spend much more than any other industry. And then let me come to the point. for you guys, for the young professionals, for the engineering students, for the MBA students, for people with 1 or 2 years of experience, what are the career options in this industry? Let's look at first career option, which is offshore IT captives of large multinational banks like JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Royal Bank of Scotland, Bank Paribas, Barclays, Citibank. These are large global banks. And these large global banks have their offices in India. And what kind of people they hire? They hire engineers. They hire senior architects, senior engineers. They hire business analysts who can write their specs. They hire testing and quality professionals who can test the software or the applications which are developed. So they hire business process outsourcing professionals who can work on different parts and different value chain components of their business processes. And if you join one of these multinational banks offshore captive centers in India, you can grow within the bank or you can grow within the same community, because if you're working in one bank and after some experience you move into another bank, your domain knowledge, your technical knowledge builds up and is reusable elsewhere, right? So this is one line of career, the offshore IT captive of large multinational banks, and the opportunities here would be in India as well as global mobility. Yeah. See, the kind of people work here, I explain you, are people who are engineers or analysts or business process experts. Now, second category, IT departments of Indian banks. For example, ICICI, State Bank of India, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, they have IT departments. Like global multinational bank, they also have IT department. What kind of people work in their IT department? Exactly the same profile as global banks, like engineers, architects, analysts, right? What do? They either build applications or implement applications or analyze business problems and provide IT solutions to the business problem, right? So the nature of job, same. The third category, IT services companies, companies like Cognizant, TCS, Infosys, Accenture, IBM. What do? They exactly do what people in number 1 and number 2 do. That means application development, application maintenance, support, business process work, but in a different environment, in an outsourcing environment. That means the customer is someone else, a bank or a financial services firm, and as an IT services company, you are doing the work for them. So the skills, the qualification, the experience you need here is again similar. And the fourth category are the financial software companies. Financial software companies are slightly different in the sense that they make packaged software and then they sell it to the banks or financial services institutions like MySys, like Calypso, Temenos, Nucleus Software, Murex, Polaris, SunGuard, and the kind of people work here are again technical and business experts. So you see the 4 different type of organizations which hire people, the IT people in their software business. They have the same business domain. They cater to the same business problems. And therefore, the domain knowledge is extremely important if you intend to work in any of these organizations. The organizations like this, the organizations like banks, the organizations like services companies, and the organizations like software product companies. You need the domain knowledge to work there. So, number 1 reason is the technology choices are commoditizing, right? More and more research and development in technology space is making application development and maintenance an easier task. So, domain knowledge is becoming more important. I'll give you an example. 20 years back, you would have written a small program in BASIC or COBOL or C to calculate interest. Today, you can do it in Microsoft Excel without any knowledge of programming, right? This is evolution. What we used to do 20 years back through writing a code or a software program, today can be done on a tool. So this tooling, this commoditization of software into applications which can be readily used by someone who has no knowledge of programming is further improving, right? Microsoft Excel is a great example where without knowledge of programming, you can actually solve a lot of business problems. In future, more and more model-driven architecture, automated code generators, they will work in the background, and power of computing will get into the ordinary people who actually don't know programming but who need to solve a business problem. And programming will become more and more critical for research and development rather than application development, right? So what happens, I'm not saying that programming is not important, but what I'm trying to say is that programming will become less important for solving simpler business problems. For example, the company I used to work, MySys, built a platform called Bank Fusion, using which any user in the bank who understands the bank's business can actually design a process flow, and code can be generated automatically and deployed automatically. Salesforce.com, a very successful ERP company which provides a solution on the cloud, actually has developed tools where you can do customization without any knowledge of databases and programming. So what is happening? I'm not saying this has perfection, this has reached the perfection, but this is increasingly becoming popular to make things simpler, right? So the domain knowledge becomes very important, because when things become simpler, people with domain knowledge can start solving their business problems. Why domain knowledge is important? If you know the domain of banking, capital market, and financial services, you will, number one, understand the business of your customers. So if you are working in Infosys or Cognizant or MySys or a bank, and you are dealing with your counterpart in the business, they want you to understand their problem, and you can understand that problem easily if you understand the domain. You may be a great programmer, you may be a great architect, but if you understand the business little bit, it will become very easy for you to provide the right solution. The pain points, you can step into their shoes and understand their pain points if you understand the domain. Nowadays, more and more companies want to hire technical people who understand domain and then continue to learn that domain on job. So if you join a company that is in banking software, it makes sense for you to continue in banking domain even if you are a technical person for a longer period, rather than switch between airlines, banking, and healthcare, because then you will not be able to build upon your domain expertise. And if you have an understanding of financial services, when you start in your new job, you will get an advantage, because you would easily understand what people are explaining you, what their applications do, what kind of customers they deal with. So it makes your life easier. And from a career point of view, you can continue to be a programmer or an architect and become a technical director, or you can become a solutions architect, for which domain knowledge is important, or you can become a business analyst, which is more domain-centric work. You can become a pre-sales consultant, for example, in a company, is the person who demos solutions to the customers, right, before the sales can actually happen. Now, if you don't understand the customer's business, it will be very difficult for you to demo your software solution. A post-sale consultant, on the other hand, is the person who actually implements the solution at the customer side. So that also requires domain knowledge. Now, once you have the domain knowledge, your company would be more and more willing to send you on customer side. It will allow you to talk to customer, understand their pain point. So if you want to work on customer side, interact with the customer, understand their problem, if you have the domain knowledge, you can demonstrate that to your manager. You are more likely to work with the customers directly than a person who does not have the domain knowledge, right? So it makes a lot of sense for you guys at this age to invest in your domain knowledge, to read more about it, to learn more about it, and it's not a big effort. And domain knowledge also helps just in case you want to transition from IT side to business side within your organization or even an outside organization. With domain knowledge, you can transition. So you can change your roles. You know, it enables you to do many things. It enables you to be more successful in your existing role, or it enables you to opt for a new role, right? And therefore, remember, most of you are software engineers. Therefore, I have put this point here. Remember, it is very difficult to learn programming. You took 4 years in your engineering college, for example, right? And then on the job, you keep improving your programming skills. But it's very easy to learn banking and financial services. If you have the right tools, right guidance, right teacher, it's easy. It's not rocket science, right? So you don't have to leave programming and learn banking. What you need to do is to continue to improve your technical skills, but also pick up domain skills, and therefore it's very important that you invest it in. A lot of people, I have had this discussion with engineers when I used to run a software company. Engineers would ask me, why do you insist on domain? Why do you want me to take banking courses or learn banking or capital market? I'm an engineer. I want to be an architect and technical leader. I want to have my own startup. I want to be CTO one day. There is no need. I should not. There are business analysts. They know the domain. Why should I learn domain? And my answer was, one, it will help you to become a more relevant architect. You may be an architect, you may be a CTO, but are you relevant? Can you engage with your stakeholders? Can you engage with your customers? Do you understand the language? Do you understand the demand? Remember, who pays for you? Who pays for IT? It's business. Who pays for CTO department, CIO department? Is the business. If you understand the pain points, if you know how they work, what is their language, what are the nuances, you become more popular. People come to you for solution more often than they go to others. And there are many others who are learning domain out there. So if you're working for company A and you're not learning domain, and I'm working for company B and where I'm learning domain, it is more likely that I would be getting more business, right? My company would be winning more deals. So if you think technology is sexy, yes, I agree, technology is very sexy. But if you add domain to it, it makes it super sexy. Domain makes a technology person very powerful, very employable, very smart, and a customer-friendly person who can engage with the customer, who can interact with the customer, and who can become a customer's trusted person in the company. And now, domain learning, last but not the least, is a very small investment of time and money compared to technology. You don't have to go to an engineering college for 4 years and work hard. It is very easy. You can invest an hour a day, maybe 2 to 3 hours a week, and you can make it, right? And then some people ask me, oh, I am an MBA, or I am already doing an MBA. Can I benefit from domain learning? Because in 2 years in business management, I learned everything, in business marketing, sales, finance. And I tell them, yeah, you learn a lot, but they don't teach you practice. In B schools, they don't teach you banking practice. Because banking practice, the bankers learn on the job over several years in their banking organization. Practice is very relevant to a software professional's job or a business analyst job. So how do you do it? Domain knowledge. If you gain domain knowledge over and above what you learn in your B school, you can get placed in a KPO, in an IT department of a bank, or a software company as a business analyst. Okay, most of these companies who build software for financial services, right, they hire MBAs and they train them. The alternative they have, they can go to banks and hire bankers. Now, think if they hire bankers with 10, 15 years experience, it's a very expensive proposition, number one. Number two, when you hire people from banks, they may not have any background in technology, and you can't train them in technology. And if you hire MBAs with domain knowledge, over a period of time, number one, they will have an open mind for technology because they are younger, and they can keep learning more about domain on the job, right? So, and it's cheaper for companies to hire MBAs. So if you are an MBA student, it makes sense for you to add more domain knowledge, especially the practical one, to your arsenal. Now, people ask me, okay, we'll do the certification, we'll improve the domain knowledge. What else can we do? My recommendation is you must read one business newspaper. If you don't want to read physical newspaper, you can go online and read. In my experience, I have liked Mint and Business Line. They have good content on the website. A lot of news is not related to banking and financial market, but some news is related to banking and financial market. And lot of these websites sometimes have articles on banking and capital markets. So you should do that. And one very important thing, you all have accounts in the bank. Go to your bank. Try to understand what do they do. Look at their product, look at the brochures, talk to their staff. Look, see, you can actually go to a branch. You can also look at the website. You can go to ATM and try to understand the same service, same product. How do they deliver to multiple channels, for example, right? What is their business? And this will encourage you to think about their business, right? Once you start thinking about this business, you will have questions, and then you can ask those questions to your colleagues, your mentors. Like I know Flip, for example, organizes quizzes and they organize events. You can participate in that. So what I'm trying to say, that none of this is heavyweight investment. This is not about 8 hours of hard work, study till 2 in the night. No, it's easy. It's easy stuff. 1 or 2 hours. That's all. So understanding banking business, understanding capital markets is modular. You can do it in bits and pieces. You don't have to do it overnight. You can take your own 1 year, 1.5 years to build your knowledge base. And it's not in conflict with your technology career, right? So you can do it along with your technology career. And it's like icing on the cake. You have a great cake, you can add more icing to your cake, right? I'll stop at this point of time. I didn't want to talk too much. I just want to give the message to all of you, but I'll be happy to take any questions. I'll hand it over to Flip, who have sponsored this webinar. Rahul, I'm done. I'll wait for question answer session.
Thank you so much, Manoj. We will start sending you questions now. You will be able to view the questions in your questions window.
Okay.
Couple of questions have already been assigned to you, so request you to kindly take a look at them.
So the first question I have from Vinod Ingle. He says, I am a software developer and I have 2-year experience, but my salary, just a minute, I am trying to read this. But my salary is not good. What I can do, go on banking domain, suggest. Okay, Vinod, it's a great question. Actually, salaries are not benchmarked, just on the basis of experience or competence. A lot of different companies pay different salaries, but I personally think that there are 2 or 3 domains where the salaries are slightly higher than the rest of them, and banking is one of them, right? I think the social media, new technology again is a domain where higher salaries are there, but banking is a large scalable industry. For every company, banking, BFSI is the biggest business, right? And if you work in software product companies, you probably will get slightly higher salary than software services companies. And the multinational banks also pay very good salary. So see, if you want good salary, you have to be very good technically. If you are a software developer, you are hired primarily for your software development skill. But if you have the domain knowledge, the probability of you landing up in that job is higher. And also, if you have a domain knowledge, you probably will get slightly more salary, right? So invest in your technology as well as in your domain knowledge. I'm not trying to say that just domain knowledge will get you better salary. But what I'm trying to say that if you are a good developer, then having domain knowledge will definitely get you a better salary. Okay. The next question I have is from Chandan Verma. What is the future of a business analyst in investment bank and what roles does it? In investment banks, commercial banks, software product companies, business analyst is a very important person. Okay, business analyst is the person who writes the specifications which the software developers use to code. So business analysts decide what are you building, how the software is supposed to work. And the software developers design and code it, right? Architects and software developers. So business analyst job is very important because if you write the wrong requirement, the software will not work right even if the code quality is excellent, right? So what is important for the business analyst is to know the business. And my experience, business analysts come from 2 routes. There are one type of business analysts who come from banking domain, who have never worked in technology. They work in bank and come as a business analyst. The second type of business analysts who work in BFSI IT and subsequently move into business analysis role. And in my experience, people who move from IT to business and become business analysts, they are much better. And I'm not making a value judgment here. This is my experience. I have found them to be better because they understand technology. They have a systems thinking. They understand databases. So when they write the requirement, they write the test cases, they write the specs, they tend to write much granular, better specs than the bankers who have only seen the user experience side of it. The bankers have only worked on the front end screen. They have not seen the back end, right? So what happens when the bankers only look at what should be on the screen, the IT turned business analysts tend to look at much bigger picture. The role of business analyst in investment bank is fabulous, fantastic. They get paid very well, and they play a very important role as a bridge between business and technology, right? So the future is bright, and I expect more business analysts to be hired in coming days. I have a large number of questions on my screen now, so I don't know where to start, so I'll just go by the sequence. Ganga S is asking me, nowadays for testing requirements, they prefer domain specific. Absolutely, yes. If you are testing a software and you have the knowledge of the domain, you can test, like for example, black box testing, right? You are only testing the functionality or the features. You have to know the domain. Otherwise, you cannot test the software. When you are testing software, you want the result to be conform to the requirements. So, yes, for testers, domain knowledge is very critical, as critical as it is for developers. Nipun Batra is asking me, I am an engineering student in final year. I want to go in the management marketing side. How can I proceed further? Nipun Batra, very good question. I think what you should do is to work at least for 2 to 3 years and then go for an MBA, and then you can go into management marketing side. I would not recommend going for an MBA immediately after your engineering. By working for 2 to 3 years, you will do 2 things. Number 1, you will gain some experience and understand how companies work. Number 2, you will make some money. That is always nice. And number 3, your probability of getting admission in a good institute will go up, because nowadays everybody gives weightage to job experience after engineering. So from engineering, if you want to go to management marketing side, work for 3 years and then go for an MBA. Mahesh is asking me, hello, it is Mahesh. I am a computer science student. How can I utilize my technical skills in banking, and are they useful? Absolutely. Banking needs more and more technical skills, and they are definitely useful. You need to continue to enhance your technical skills, but if you add some domain knowledge to it, it would be better. Suhail Ahmad Khan. Currently, I am working in a retail company as a techno-functional consultant in Oracle Retail. Is it right to opt for banking sector field? Being in this field, please answer. I think you are in a very good domain. Retail is also a very good emerging domain, and you are doing great. But retail and banking are very much similar in nature when it comes to distribution side of it. So if you are in retail and if you move to banking, my recommendation would be to move to the channel side of banking. That is where retail and banking look similar. Ganga is asking which is the best site to have domain knowledge. There are millions of sites for domain knowledge. It is very difficult to just pick 1 or 2. But my recommendation is, you write to Flip, and they are in the business of banking education. They should be able to give you a comprehensive list of good sites. Shraddha Kaul is asking a very interesting question. Where do we take up training for trading domain? Again, Flip provides training in trading areas, some of the trading areas. Trading, most of the people learn trading as they practice it. You should do probably look at the NCFM certification as well as Flip. both. But you have to be little specific. The different asset classes have different nuances, and it's better to have basic banking knowledge before you get into the trading domain as a domain expert. If you want to just become a trader, it's a different story. But if you want to become a trading domain expert, then start with banking, I would recommend. Arun Sekhar is asking me what type of certification were you talking about. So I am talking about certifications in the area of retail banking, commercial banking, transaction banking, capital markets, anything that is related to the financial services domain. Somebody is asking me to throw some light on networking engineers. I'm sorry, that is not my area of specialization. If I say something that may be incorrect, so I will refrain from commenting on that. Raj Srinivas is asking me, I'm a BTech graduate in the stream of computer science and I'm trying to start my career in an MNC firm. What is your advice? At this age, at this point of time in your career, my advice is work really hard and don't think that your studies have finished with BTech. BTech is just a formal qualification. You have to academically continue to work hard, continue to learn new technologies and domains throughout your life. Learning never ends. Work hard and continue to invest in your career. It doesn't stop because everything keeps changing. A lot of questions on business analysts. I think I have already covered that. Samsuddin is asking me, I have completed BE computer science. Am I eligible to get job in banking sector? Yes, you are. Any graduate is eligible. Eligibility is not a problem. There are a lot of engineers who are working in banking industry. Are there any more specific questions about why and how domain knowledge can help IT and management professionals? I'll be happy to take. But looking at the questions, I think I have fairly covered most of the question types. They seem to be repetition. There are some questions on technology, on networking, on web technologies. I am intentionally not answering those questions because that's not my area of expertise. What is the profile path ahead for a BA in a bank? Excellent. A BA in a bank can continue to work in the area of product management, can also move into a software company, and can also move into the business side of the bank. How much value NCFM certification add to your CV is absolutely good. This is a good certification. It adds value to your CV. Omkar Patil is asking, I am a software developer, how to grow career in BFSI domain. Exactly what, I've been talking about it. Ramchandra is asking, is it possible to opt for banking if I have 6 years of experience in telecom sector? Yes, if you have worked in telecom billing application space, you can actually look at banking, with where your business knowledge can be, changed. My recommendation is, you have already built 6 years of domain, expertise in telecom. You should be building on that. But if you want to change, banking is a very, easy domain. You can always move into that. Rahul, do you want me to continue? Because most of the questions now are similar. But any specific question you want me to answer, I can take.
Okay, Srilagna, if you have any specific question apart from the ones which have been answered by Manoj, then you can share them.
I am actually going through the entire list. The problem is there's so many questions, coming in at one point. It's a little difficult, number one, and number two, Yes, a lot of people are asking questions around, things like they have 2 years of experience, they are finishing their MBA, or they're basically asking for suggestions. What is good, what kind of
Yeah.
certifications are good, and things like that.
So you know
So
what, Rahul, I think this is the right time. You should be talking about FLIP and the certification and courses you have, because that
Manoj,
will answer a lot of questions. A lot of questions are around certification and FLIP.
right, Manoj, couple of questions are still pouring in. There is one question from Megha. She's
Yeah.
asking what kind of domain knowledge is needed for an IT professional in business side. So this is something I don't think you have touched upon earlier. So maybe if you could take this question up, and I'm keeping an eye for some similar questions as well. Would you like me to repeat the question for you once again?
Yeah. Can you? Yeah.
Yeah, the question is what kind of domain knowledge is needed for an IT professional in business side? The question is from Megha.
Yeah. So Megha, if you are an IT professional and you are working, so as an IT professional, you could be working in any domain, in banking, in healthcare, in airlines, in technology. And what happens when you are an IT professional and you have a long-term career plan to remain in IT, you still have to build business applications for your stakeholders. And your stakeholders are on the business side, right? They have problems in their business which they want IT to solve. So the domain knowledge, even an elementary domain knowledge helps. If you are, say, at an entry level, at the software developer level, you should have a high level, like beginner level domain knowledge. As you grow, you become senior in the organization, you would be interacting with more senior stakeholders, or at the client side you would be interacting with more important people, and then they would expect you to have little more understanding of their business, right? So when you ask what kind of domain knowledge, I would say you need to understand your customer's business, and as you grow in your career, that expectation grows, right? So you start with beginner, then go to the intermediate level, and then go to the advanced level.
Okay, I think Manoj, this next question is also something which you can address. A question is coming from Ambesh Singh, and he's asking how is it valuable for programmers and business analysts in TCS, Infosys,
Yeah.
Wipro who want to be noticed by BFS clients?
So what happens when any company works with their customers, customers ask them to deploy people with good technical and good domain skills on their projects, right? So what companies do internally also, companies invest a lot, a lot of companies invest in training. That the reason they invest in training, because they have to make sure that their people understand domain. But at the same time, if you have a certificate and you have already done a certificate and you have already invested in your career, you know the domain, you can demonstrate that to your manager, it helps them. And it helps them position you in front of client that, look, this is our person, he has been a Java developer for 4 years, and by the way, he also knows how the bank accounts operate, and he knows how the ATM works, and he knows how the internet banking works, and he has, understood, he has done some certification, and that certification is for retail banking, and we are putting him on your project. So customer is happy here because customer knows that this developer who is coming on my project also understands maybe a small amount of my business, but at least some level of business understanding this particular developer has, right? I have seen very successful software engineers and developers who know a lot about banking and financial services, and especially at the senior level, because they keep adding their more experience, they talk to more customers, they read more books, and they play with more systems, that their domain knowledge is really, really very good. And customers want to talk to them, right? For example, if I am running a bank and you are working in a software outsourcing firm, I would like to talk to someone who can understand and appreciate my business, right? So it helps, any company like TCS or Infosys or IBM would like their people to have that kind of domain knowledge, especially if they are expected to interact with customers.
Thank you for answering, Manoj. One more question coming up from Shruti Mehta. She is asking if domain knowledge is sound, can a QA be transformed into a developer?
Okay, so I would say that a good domain knowledge will help a QA to become a good QA and a developer to become a good developer. But if you want to move from QA to developer, I would say that you need to be better programmer, right? And similarly, if you want to move from a developer to QA, you need to be a better tester, right? But domain knowledge will definitely help you to move up, right? To become better in what you do, right? Domain knowledge helps you to do better. And also, it will help you move into, for example, I cannot say from QA to developer because QA to developer is more of a technical change. I would say from a QA to BA, yes, of course. I have seen a lot of BAs who come from QA background. And the QA people actually become very good BAs, very good BAs. So in fact, my message to the QA professionals is invest in your domain knowledge because then you can become a BA. And it's a very good career path for QA.
Thank you once again, Manoj. Manoj.
Another area which I think I said it, I want to repeat that whether you are a developer or a QA or a BA or a project manager or anybody in the software industry, if you have domain knowledge, you can also go to the areas like pre-sales, professional services, customer relationship management, and that's where you have a lot of money as well, right? Good career, good money, global exposure. These roles are in demand. It is very difficult to get good pre-sales people. You know, I have been hiring in my career. Not easy to get good pre-sales people, not easy to get good professional services people because in those roles, you need a good mix of technical and functional knowledge, right? If I am hiring a professional services consultant, I will not hire a pure play developer. I'll hire a person who knows development but who also understands the business, right? So it's very important if you have a good mix of technical and domain knowledge if you want to get into more customer-facing roles.
Thanks so much, Manoj. At this point in time, we have around 8 more minutes left before we end today's session. Request you to go through some of the questions and see if you can.
I'm just, yeah.
And also, rest of the questions which you think are somewhat repetitive by nature, we can ask the attendees to post them on techgig.com in the discussion forum, and you can come and address those questions there, or the other option is they can send those questions to us and you can take them up offline.
Yeah, I think I would prefer taking offline because I've been traveling. I'll definitely answer all questions. You know,
Sure.
no doubt about it. Right now, I am picking up some questions and answering. But
Sure.
what we will do after this webinar is over, we will make sure that every question is answered. There are a lot of duplicate questions, so we'll make sure that they are clubbed together so that there is a single answer to those questions. Like for
Sure.
example, there are some 8 or 10 questions which just say what is the role of a business analyst. I think I answered that, and it should answer all those 8 people who raised that question.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say too, because these are all young people, they are either studying or just passed out or in the beginning of their career. See, a lot of times we think that we have finished the degree course and we are done now, the life is great and we can get a job and just have fun. Unfortunately, the world is very cruel even outside the college. Once you come out of college and start working, the real hard work starts then. And then you actually have to work much harder on the job. So the learning doesn't stop. So on the job, every day you are learning new things, and people who actually get ahead of the crowd and make a great career in industry are the people who realize that the education is not done at the end of convocation. It continues. And therefore, people who invest in the career, who read books, who do certifications, who learn domain, who continue to enhance their technical skills and functional skills and soft skills, who invest in, improving their prospects, they are the ones who get ahead of the curve. So do not stop learning just because you are out of the college. College is just a milestone. Just remember that.
Manoj, I would like to quickly add to that. Looking at the kind of questions that we are getting today, it seems a lot of people are curious to know, the kind of skills that these companies are looking at, different certifications or different courses that they can do. So probably if there is a webinar, which can be conducted exclusively around these 2-3 topics, which probably would include IT skills or certifications. I think that would probably narrow down all these things much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can do that. And one interesting question I just saw from one Rohit Kumar, how to enter in Murex and Calypso as a BA. So it appears you know about Murex. So Murex, Calypso, Mises, SunGuard, these are some of the software product companies. And as a BA, you make a good career and a lot of money there. How to enter there? Again, you need absolutely fantastic domain knowledge if you want to enter these companies, right? So you do the certifications, understand trading front to back, and then your prospects are really, really bright. I think a lot of people are asking about websites where they can learn BFSI domain. I would say right now they should start with Flip, and then use this as a benchmark, and then ask for more websites. And if you just search on Google, you'll get some few million results. So there are so many websites. And I would recommend that you go into the bank websites and see what products and services they offer. That also is very, very encouraging. You can learn a lot just by looking at their products and services. And then ask your friends questions. Okay, I looked at XYG bank website. They are offering this product called Pay to Go, and how does it work, right? And then you can ask this question to Flip, for example. Pooja Kumari is asking, I have worked in TCM domain for 1.2 years. I have been searching for a job but not getting relevant because of, no, less experience is not a problem. You have 1.2 year experience. I think you should continue to try with the IT services firm. Everybody is hiring on the TCM domain side. So we have 3 minutes left. I'm still going through the questions. If I find something which we have not yet addressed, I'll definitely look at that.
Manoj, there is a question from Nalan. He's asking, how is MSBI technology useful in banking domain?
Which technology?
He's referring to MSBI technology.
See, most of the banks use multiple technologies, right? So if you are on the technology side, you will see banks working on Microsoft technologies, open source as well as old technologies. A lot of banks globally still work on mainframe and I-series platform. So technology is not a problem. I know people who know RPG 400 and COBOL 400 programming, and they are very successfully working in banking industry because banks work on variety of platforms and technologies. So ranging from SAP to Oracle to Microsoft to open source, all kind of technology platforms are used in banking industry. It's very, very versatile and very broad.
Okay, I think
we are done. It was great, answering these questions, and I will try to answer more questions as we go forward. It was good talking to all of you. Wish you all the best in your career, and remember, learning never stops.
Thank you so much, Manoj, for taking up so many questions today. And yes, I would encourage all the attendees to continue this discussion and visit techgig.com and post the queries and any kind of questions which probably went unnoticed or unanswered during the session, I encourage all of you to go ahead and post those queries on the discussion forum on techgig.com. And thank you so much once again, Manoj, for taking time out and giving this really useful and very open presentation today. And the recording version of today's session would be available on techgig.com on Monday morning. So you can all log in and take a look at the session. Thank you so much, Manoj.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Manoj.